Hello,
Iqram.
everybody. Hey, Sam.
What's going on, dude?
Not much, man. I gotta say, we've been at this for 15 years.
We're getting old.
It's an honor to have you here with me.
Oh, please.
You're my guest.
Love to be your guest.
As the founder of Slow Ventures, first investor in Venmo and advisor. So I want to kick it off. Tell me, reflecting on kind of our past life, building Venmo, from your vantage point as Venmo's first investor and advisor, what was it like watching it grow into what it is today? And give us some of your biggest takeaways from that.
You know, there's a movie from the 70s called Being There about this guy, Chauncey the gardener, who just kind of wanders through life and happens to be in these amazing moments and be part of special things. I think one of those things was, you know, meeting Cortina originally, your co-founder on the
Yeah, you met him on a subway.
Met him on a subway here in New York. And then kind of going to bars with you guys, figuring out we were annoyed we couldn't pay the bartender.
Right.
This was before when mobile phones were taking off and how to do that. You know, I've been annoyed by that problem for 20 years, which is why, again, I was one of the first investors in Solana, Jelly. Like, it's all kind of part of, being there and wandering through and pushing.
And one of the crystal clear moments there was the inception of trust.
Yeah.
Where, we could trust each other and share money, which is a lot of what we talk about. And now we talk a lot about kind of like what Venmo 2.0 could look like. And we're here in this amazing crypto area. Tell us about the meme coin that you geniusly came up with. We all supported and posted on Twitter and all of a sudden went viral, and what it means for...
Yeah, I mean, this is again in terms of the being there moments, right? So you and I, we've had this long joke for 15 years of how do you do like with money, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so when Venmo was first getting started, I think I probably did one of the first 10 transactions, and I sent you a note being like, this is liking things with money.
Yeah,
this is so cool. And fast forward, that kind of, there's a connection to crypto. And then we ended up with Jelly, where you and I have been iterating for a year on calls on how do we build a new form of social media, how do we, it's gonna be lightweight, that kind of works in this era. I spent a lot of time at Facebook, I care a lot about social media. And then I had just gotten off a call about meme coins, and I was like, we gotta launch a meme coin, right?
Yeah, and I mean, instantly viral.
So the logo for Jelly that we launched with is literally a screenshot of the Jelly conversation we were having.
Yeah, exactly.
It went from 0 to $250 million market cap in like 4 hours, right? Been crazy. People got candidly way overexcited about it. But the underpinning was, how do we use Solana? How do we use a meme coin? How do we use a currency, right, to do what we always wanted to do, which is like with money and tip with money?
And I have to be honest. Like when you're in the trenches, and one of the reasons shout out to you as an investor, because you're one of the few investors that'll come in the trenches with a founder like me and just build from the bottom up, as opposed to set it and forget it. But being in the trenches, one of the things that we know we all look for is that kind of inflection point. Would you say the meme coin for Jelly was a big inflection point for us? And a lot of people are concerned that people put these things out there and they disappear. Talk about like how we're actually building something and utility into Jelly.
So I think there's two things I've experienced in my career as an investor and as a builder that are both the really exciting moments. Right? Exciting moment one is when something clicks and you're like, this is gonna work. Like this just works. And you watch a chart and and you're just like, all right, there's gonna be a lot of work to do, but this is gonna do its thing. There's another thing which I actually think is even more exciting, which is what I call the knock, right? Where you're kind of figuring out the universe, you're figuring out what's gonna work, you're figuring out pieces, and then you kind of go knock on something, and it goes blah, right? The whole world just kind of opens up. And that doesn't mean you're done, right? But that kind of oh my God, there's something here, is an incredibly exciting moment when you're building. You're like, it works, it's gonna work. This is we have a new vector. And to me, that's what the launch of Jelly token was. We've been spending a lot of time bullshitting and playing and figuring out how these pieces work together. And we knew there was directionally right, but not specifically. And then we had one of those knock moments,
right,
where we weren't done. This thing got out of control. It's now kind of regrown to a $30 million market cap. There's a lot of engagement. You're like, this really does help drive. This feels great in the app. So we're delivering and doing what we said we were going to do. But it was what I call one of those moments where you're like, oh shit, there's a lot of energy here. this works, the infrastructure works, and like it's time to go.
Yeah, it works. I mean, it's almost like Venmo 2.0, like we've talked about.
I mean, that's
global.
yeah.
And here's the thing: it's like one of the things I learned from that is, one, crypto can be a great way to build a community. Like we got from that launch alone 10,000 signups in 2 hours, and they've all now come and kind of become ambassadors to the app. They watch the coin grow, and we're just building it in. And now you tipped some of the people for videos they make. It's amazing. Here's the next question, and I know a lot of people in the crypto world are always thinking about that, myself 24/7. How do you take something that seems so complicated, almost inaccessible to the mainstream, and how is Jelly going to be one of the pioneers of that?
Look, at the end of the day, I think that memes rule everything around us. That's always been true, but I think we've gotten a better and better grasp on the truth of that and then how to express it and what to do with it, right? And like, what do you think, what are the core properties of memes, right? They need to be highly transmissible as ideas. They need to be simple. I get pitched crypto companies all day long. I'm a professional investor. The thing about it is when they are too complicated, your eyes just glaze over. And it's kind of mean, honestly, because these people have like really good insights into how something specifically works and how to do it. But if you can't communicate it simply, right, then it's not gonna go, right, in a lot of ways. Bitcoin, candidly, a very easy thing. Like, and it doesn't need to be transferable to everyone, but there needs to be a pocket of people who are like, oh shit, oh yeah, right? And then you also need something that is like highly collaborative to be a meme. Like memes work because they're usable and remixable, and people can take them and make them their own and adapt them in ways which then make them feel and bring them in. People are desperate to be part of communities and meanings and do new things together, right? And so what's really exciting about Jelly Jelly and tokens and how these things intersect is you get on, and there are all of these people who are like really excited to be part of it, right? They want to be part of it. They want to hold the coin. You got to reward them for holding the coin, for building the community. There's a way to create this symbiotic relationship, which is very memey, and like I think that's very exciting.
So imagine we're talking now to a coffee shop barista.
Okay.
And you're trying to get them, onto Jelly or to understand like how does crypto work. Like, convince me as the barista that I need to be playing with crypto. Why should I be?
Aren't you the entrepreneur? You're supposed to be convincing me. I'm just the editor. At best. Look, I think that Bitcoin is the most successful thing in crypto by a mile, right?
Right.
I love Solana. I blew Solana orange, blue, pink, whatever. But like, it's clearly Bitcoin. It's like, why? It's the easiest thing to explain, right? It's like the most powerful meme that's existed yet. Solana is, the way I look at it, become, at least in this part of the world, there's a lot of components to what Solana is, but when people think about Solana, it works when they understand, they're like, oh my god, that's the really easy, awesome platform for trading memes. Or like, they're not as interested in the memes, they're interested in, like, but there's something they have to find and glom onto.
Right.
In the case of Jelly Jelly, I think crypto is an incredibly important engine for it, right? Because it feels amazing to get tipped, right? You put a video up, you get a bunch of random people liking something, or someone's actually sending you money. Or by the way, when you're like, here's 1,000, I'm like, oh my god, that feels so much better than like a random like. And so you feel this like engine of engagement.
It's like a dopamine hit. It's like,
it's like more meaningful. Like it's kind of wild that you can now in a tap using Solana send someone real economic value.
You got me thinking, if Venmo was like with money, Jelly is love with money, baby.
Sure.
Because you could go all the way.
Well, it just feels so, I mean, early on, you guys, by the way, Iqram and Cortina, who co-founded Venmo, are nutcases. They're amazing, but you guys are crazy. But like, they would roll around and go to a baseball game, and Iqram would be like, I love that shirt, here's $1,000 for it, right? Just give me the shirt.
And I'd be like, what's your phone number?
You once bought a shirt off me in a bar, right? And so the idea that was like a fun social. This is like that, but so much more realistic and scalable. Of like, how do you kind of really quantify engagement and share? And I think that's what people are actually in it for. Is like social media. As much as I love it, and like I've been a big part of kind of my career. Like, it's very alienating to a lot of people. And what you see on Jelly Jelly and what you see with kind of the expressiveness of using crypto to send things to people is like this different dimension of feeling connected, which I think is really interesting.
That is it right there. So I'm going to extract one key takeaway from what you just said, which is how do we take crypto mainstream, make it social, and make it fun, and make it engaging? So, bam. For those of you listening to that, that's a key takeaway.
And I'd also, and this is the thing for the crypto community broadly, which I love, is crypto is full of very intellectual people and
Correct.
degenerates, right? Total degenerates and very, very intellectual people thinking about like the underlying. What you need is product building, right? Which is, I think, what Jelly Jelly is. I think there's a lot of other stuff going on, and that is like the real thing where you're like, people don't show up, to an app because it's intellectually correct. They show up to it because it makes them feel awesome, because it does something for them, right?
We used to have this, I mean, this may be corny, but we used to have this line at Venmo. Venmo makes money taste like honey. Maybe jelly makes money funny, baby. I don't know.
Sure.
But here's the thing. Okay, so
stick to web development.
In the vein of having fun, you and I are very generous. So we're going to, by the way, by a show of hands, does anyone in the crowd hold Jelly My Jelly coin?
Did anyone make money on that crazy run-up of Jelly Jelly? Yeah, good job.
Okay, so we want to fix this. So I'm only seeing 3 or 4 people here. So Sam and I backstage, we were like, okay, we had to announce something. And what we're going to announce today is, look, go on the Jelly Jelly app. If you have an iPhone, coming soon to Android, but go on Jelly Jelly. If you don't have Jelly, or even if you do, for every post you make, as soon as the app is updated, you're going to get 10 Jelly, and you're going to get 100 Jelly if you do 5 in a row, and you get Jelly for bringing your friends into Jelly. So at the very least, have some fun with it.
And Iqram will run around the app giving people ridiculous tips of Jelly.
Yeah, and if you find me, I'll give you 1,000 Jelly. So find Sam too; he'll give you 1,000. Trust. So Sam, what are your parting words for Look, let's look 5 years from now. What do you hope to see at a conference like this, or for crypto in general?
Look, I mean, 5 years ago, right? Solana barely existed. I mean, it did exist, but barely, right? And it was, it was a really exciting time. I think a lot of the ideas were the same, right? Like, it's not like, even if you unwind to 10 years, 15 years in crypto, colored coins on Bitcoin, the ideas have always been there, and the ideas are good, and the ideas are important. But the big thing in my mind right now is like, just build good stuff. Like, the infrastructure works finally, right? Which has been a long time coming. And you can now build things like Jelly Jelly and think about how to use crypto, use the fact that I can just tip people in these currencies in great product-oriented ways is what gets me really excited. And I think that's kind of what to do and where to spend time and why we're having fun.
Well, I love that, man. So, hey, thank you. That's going to wrap up our chat. Always a pleasure talking to you, and let's keep doing it, man.
Always a pleasure.